morning, students. Today we are going to study Unit 11 and 12, Sociology, Block 3. Unit 11 is about socialization. Now, what is socialization? Socialization is a fundamental process that ensures the functioning and continuation of society. Each society has its own unique methods of training newborn members, helping them develop their personalities. This process of nurturing and shaping a child's personality is known as socialization. Socialization involves learning the rules, habits, and values of the groups to which an individual belongs, such as family, friends, colleagues, or other social units. Through this process, a child becomes aware of their role within a group and gains an understanding of the culture of their family and society. It also plays a key role in the transmission of culture from one generation to the next. As children grow, they learn traditions and customs from their elders, which they later pass down to future generations. Socialization helps individuals perform roles and responsibilities, binding one generation to the next. Now, what definitions of socialization? According to Anthony Giddens, socialization refers to the process which transforms a quite helpless human infant into a self-aware, knowledgeable person who is skilled in the ways of their society's culture. According to Peter Worsley, by this is meant simply the transmission of culture, the process whereby men learn the rules and practices of social groups. Socialization is an aspect of all activity within all human societies. Now, according to Tony Bilton, he describes socialization as the process by which we acquire the culture of the society into which we are born, the process by which we acquire our social characteristics and learn the ways of thought and behavior considered, appropriate in our society is called socialization. Now, there are, 6 types of socialization: primary socialization, secondary socialization, gender socialization, men, women, anticipatory socialization, re-socialization, then adult socialization. Primary socialization occurs during infancy and childhood and is the foundation of all future learning. This stage primarily happens within the family, where children learn language, basic behavior, and cultural norms. As Franz, states, primary and these friendships are often gender specific during childhood. Over time, peer groups become more diverse, especially after children enter school. Influence of peer groups. Peer groups significantly impact socialization by promoting as their parents do. Mass media including television, radio, newspapers, magazines, and websites plays an increasingly significant role in socialization. In the digital age, children are exposed to a variety of new learning opportunities that expand their understanding of the world. Less dependent on family and peer interactions. Franz suggests that contemporary social realities are shaped by the narrative, popularity, and taste, thereby structuring the form and content of communication. Positive and negative, media influence. Television is particularly influential, offering a wide range of programs catering to different age groups. However, not all media exposure is positive. Violent media, such as certain cartoons or video games, can promote aggression or fear in children. Violent imaginary, even if passively viewed can lead to nightmares or feelings of uncertainty. Conversely, non-violent media like pro-social video games can encourage positive behaviors such as helpfulness and kindness. Now, in the conclusion, socialization is a complex and ongoing process that begins in the family but extends to various secondary institutions such as peer groups, schools, and mass media. Each agent plays a distinct role in shaping individuals' behaviors, values, and understanding of the world. While the family provides the foundation for early socialization development, peer groups, schools, and media continue to influence socialization throughout life, each with its own set of positive and negative effects. So, we have studied about socialization in the, you see, socialization. For example, a high school graduate chooses a career in business management after participating in a small group career seminar led by, you see, college business, you see, majors. Secondary socialization occurs once the infant passes, you see, into the childhood phase and continues into maturity. This type of socialization occurs when a person learns an appropriate behavior to be displayed within a smaller group, which is still part of a larger society. The changes within the values, attitudes, and beliefs of an individual are seen to be less important than the changes made in him as he participates in the larger society. Now, gender socialization. Gender socialization is the process by which individuals are taught how to socially behave in accordance with their assigned gender, which is assigned at birth based on their sex phenotype. Today, it is largely believed that most gender expression differences are attributed to differences in socialization rather than genetic and biological factors. Gender stereotypes can be a result of, you see, gender socialization. Girls and boys are expected to act in, you see, certain ways that are socialized from birth. Children and adults who do not conform to gender stereotypes are often, you see, ostracized by peers for being different. While individuals are typically socialized into viewing gender as a masculine, feminine binary, there are individuals whose gender identity does not align with their assigned, you see, gender, which indicates that the gender binary is not universally applicable. Next we come is, you see, anticipatory socialization. This stage occurs in between the childhood and adulthood. Adolescence begins to establish independence from their parents. During this stage, adolescence participates in anticipatory socialization. They not only learn their immediate group culture, but also learn the culture of a group which they are expecting to join in, you see, future. Then next we studied, you see, re-socialization. Sometime when an individual changes his group and becomes a part of new group, he has to, you see, abandon his old way of life. Such situations compel an individual to abandon the old values, norms, and beliefs. To adjust in a new group, he has to learn the values, norms, and beliefs of new groups. The process of learning a new ways of life is called re-socialization. Then adult socialization we have studied. Adult socialization is the process in adulthood of learning the practices and expectations associated with a social role or social circumstances. It contrasts with childhood socialization. Adult socialization explains how adults adjust to new circumstances and new roles, learning to meet related expectations. For example, newlyweds must learn to behave as spouses are, commonly expected to behave, such as sharing finances and consulting one spouse about major decisions. Adult socialization also occurs as people take on new jobs as well as when they age. For example, a young adult faces different social expectations than someone who is very old. Researchers often regard adult socialization as less fundamental than childhood, socialization. Now, theories of socialization are given by George Herbert, Charles, Horton, then Sigmund Freud. Now, according to George Herbert, med self arises out of social act of communication, which is the basis for socialization. According to Med, three activities develop the language, and play and games. Language develops self by allowing individuals to respond to each other through symbols, gestures, words, and sounds. Language conveys others' attitudes and opinions towards a subject or the person. Emotions such as anger, happiness, and confusion are, conveyed through language. Play develops self by allowing individuals to take on different roles, pretend, and express expectation of others. Play develops one's self-consciousness through role playing. During role play, a person is able to internalize, the perspective of others and develop an understanding of how others feel about themselves and others in a variety of social situations. Games develop self by allowing individuals to understand and adhere to the rules of the activity. Self is developed by understanding that there are rules in which one must abide by in order to win the game or be successful at an easy activity. Next is Charles Horton Cooley and the Looking Glass Self. Charles Horton Cooley created the concept of the looking glass self, which explored how identity is formed. The looking glass self is a social psychological concept stating that a person's self grows out of the society's interpersonal interactions and the perceptions of others. There are three components of the looking glass self. We imagine how we appear to others. We imagine the judgment of that appearance, and we develop our self-identity through the judgments of others. The way in which the mirror helps us to form an opinion about ourselves through the clothing we put on, our face and physique. In a similar manner, we try to imagine how in another person's mind we might appear through our behaviors, manner, and so on. Because of this, we form an opinion about ourselves through the other person's perceptions and may get positively affected by it. Sigmund Freud and psychoanalytic theory. According to Freud, human behavior, experience, and cognition are largely determined by unconscious drives and events in early childhood. Psychoanalysis is a clinical method for treating psychopathology through dialogue between a patient and a psychoanalyst. The specifics of the analyst's interventions typically include confronting and clarifying the patient's pathological defenses, wishes, and guilt. He has explained the process of socialization through three distinguishable parts of the personality. ID, ego, and superego. The ID is completely unconscious, impulsive, childlike portion of the psyche that operates on the pleasure principle and is the source of basic impulses and drives. The ego acts according to the reality principle. The superego aims for, you see, perfection. It comprises that organized part of the personality structure. The superego aims for perfection. It comprises that organized part of the personality structure, mainly but not entirely unconscious, that includes the individual's ego, ideas, spiritual goals, and the psychic agency that criticizes and prohibits his or her drives, fantasies, feelings, and actions. So now we come on the next chapter. So in the conclusion, socialization is a complex and ongoing process that begins in the family but extends to various secondary institutions such as peer groups, schools, and mass media. Each agent plays a distinct role in shaping individuals' behaviors, values, and understanding of the world. While the family provides the foundation for early social development, peer groups, schools, and media continue to influence socialization throughout life, each with its own set of positive and negative, you see, effects. So next is, you see, agents of socialization. Agents of socialization are family, peer groups, you see, schools, you see, and then mass media. There are, you see, 4 agents of socialization: family, peer groups, you see, school, and mass media. Now, in general, it may be said that total society is the agency for socialization, and that each person with whom one comes into contact, in general, it may be said that the total society is the agency for socialization, and that each person with whom one comes into contact and interact is in some way an agent of socialization. Socialization is found in all interactions, but the most influential interaction occurs in particular groups, which are referred to as agencies of socialization. The obvious beginning of the process for the newborn child is his immediate family group, you see, where he learns. But this is soon extended to many other groups others than the family. The most important are the schools, you see, friends in the neighborhood, the peer groups, that is friend circle, and the mass media. Family, the child's first word is that of his family. It is a word in itself, in which the child learns to live, to move, and to have his being, you see. Mother and father, parents, they play the main role. Within it, not only the biological tasks of birth, protection, and feeding take place, but also develop those first and intimate associations with persons of different ages and sexes, which form the basis of the child's personality development. As the primary agents of childhood socialization, parents play a critical role in guiding children into their gender roles, you see, deemed appropriate in a society. They continue to teach gender role behavior either consciously or unconsciously throughout childhood. Families also teach children values they will, you see, hold throughout life. They frequently adopt their parents' attitudes not only about work but also about the importance of education, patriotism, and religion. Next is peer groups. Besides the word of family and school fellows, the peer group and playmates, you see, highly influence the process of socialization. In the peer group, the young child, you see, learns to conform to the accepted ways of a group and to appreciate the fact that social life is based on rules. Peer group becomes significant others in the terminology of, you see, MED for the young child. Peer group socialization has been increasing day by day these days. Young people today spend considerable time with one another outside home and family. Young people living in cities or suburbs and who have access to automobile spend a great deal of time together away from their families. Studies show that they create their own unique subcultures. The college campus culture, the drug culture, motorcycle cults, and who have athletic group culture, etc. Peer groups serve as a valuable function by assisting the transition to adult you see responsibility. Teenagers intimate their friends in part because the peer group maintains a meaningful system of rewards and punishments. The group may encourage a young person to follow pursuits that society considers you see admirable. On the other hand, the group may encourage someone teenagers intimate their friends to violate the culture's norms and values by driving recklessly, shoplifting, stealing automobiles, engaging in acts of vandalism, and the like. Some studies of deviant behavior show that the peer group influence to cultivate behavior patterns, norms, and values is more than family. Why do some youth select peer groups which generally support the socially approved adult values, while others choose peer groups which are at war, you see, with adult society? The choice seems to be related to self-image. Perhaps the dictum works seeing is behaving how we how do we see ourselves is how we while others choose peer groups which are at the habitual delinquent sees himself as you see unloved, unworthy, unable, perhaps the unaccepted and unappreciated. He joins with other such deprived youths in a delinquent you see, peer group with which reinforces and sanctions his resentful and aggressive behavior. The law-abiding youth sees himself as loved, worthy, able, accepted, and appreciated. He joins, you see, with other such youths in a conforming peer group which reinforces socially approved behavior. Next, we come on the school. After family, the education institutions take over the charge of socialization. In some societies, within the family, but in highly complex societies, children are also socialized by education system. Schools not only teach education, reading, you see the how to get along with others, writing and other basic skills. They also teach study students to develop themselves, to discipline themselves, to cooperate with others, how to get along with others, to obey rules and to test their achievements through competition. Schools teach sets of expectations about the work, profession, or occupation they will follow when they mature. Schools have the formal responsibility to obey rules and to test their achievements through competition, of imparting knowledge in those disciplines which are most central to adult functioning in our society. They will follow. It has been said that learning at home is on a personal, emotional level, whereas learning at school is basically intellectual. Then next is you see mass media. From early forms of print technology to electronic communication, radio, TV, etc., the media is playing a central role in shaping the personality of the individual. Since the last century, technological innovations such as you see radio, motion, pictures, recorded music, and television have become you see important agents of socialization. Television in particular is a you see, critical force in the socialization of children almost all over the new world. According to a study conducted in America, the average young person spends more time watching YouTube than studying in school. Apart from you see, sleeping, watching television is the most time-consuming activity of young people. according to a relative to other agents of socialization discussed above, such as family, peer group, and school, TV has certain distinctive characteristics. It permits, you see, imitation and role playing, but does not, you see, encourage more complex forms of learning. Watching TV is a, you see, passive relative to other agents experience discussed above, such as family, peer group, and school. TV has certain distinctive characteristics. So this was, you see, about mass media. Now we come on the, you see, next chapter, that is structure and function, unit 12. Now, functionalism is an, you see, approach in social anthropology and sociology that views society as a system made up of interconnected parts, and where each part contributes to the overall functioning of the whole. Sociology's task is to understand how these parts work together to maintain societal stability. The term function has multiple meanings and uses, as highlighted by Levy, who noted the challenge of using a single term for different concepts. Functionalism first emerged in the early 20th century in social anthropology and later gained traction in sociology during the 1930s. Its roots, however, go back to ancient philosophy with thinkers like Plato and Aristotle drawing comparisons between society and living organisms. Some scholars also, you see, trace functionalism to Claude Henry, who wrote after the French Revolution and is often considered the father of, you see, sociology for his contributions to the scientific study of, you see, society. One of the key figures in developing sociology as a science was, you see, Auguste Comte, who introduced, you see, positivism and emphasized studying society using methods from the natural and biological sciences. Comte aimed to uncover the laws of, you see, evolution and laws of functioning to understand how society evolves and operates at any given time. From positivism to functionalism, Emile is considered a key precursor to functionalism in sociology, though he was also critical of, you see, like wanted to define sociology as distinct from physics or biology. He believed sociology should study social facts, which he defined as collective ways of thinking, acting, and feeling that exist outside individual consciousness. Social originate from the collective society, not from individuals, and can be studied objectively. Durkheim's definition of function greatly influenced later functionalist thinkers. For him, function refers to the positive contribution that a part of society makes to the whole, ensuring its stability and continuity. In his work on the division of labor, he argued that societies grow and differentiate. Specialization, you see, creates interdependence rather than competition. This specialization contributes to social solidarity. In his work on the division of labor, Durkheim also studied the function of religion, showing that it binds people into a moral community, fostering social cohesion. Even phenomena like crime, according to Durkheim, can be considered normal because they reinforce societal moral development. However, excessive crimes or what we called pathological crimes threatens societal stability. Now, the next is the premises of functionalism. While Durkheim laid much of the groundwork for functionalism. The approach was later developed by British social anthropologist A.R. Radcliffe C. Brown and Bronislaw Malinowski. Though Durkin did not use the term functionalism, his ideas heavily influenced these scholars. Functionalism became prominent in the early 20th century, especially after the publication of Radcliffe Brown's The Andaman Islanders and Malinowski's Argonauts of the Western Pacific in 1922, which laid foundation for the functionalist approach in anthropology. The influence of functionalization soon spread to society, with figures like Calcott Parsons adopting its ideas. Functionalism as an approach shares several core assumptions, like society as a system, interconnected parts, functional contribution, interdependence of parts. The whole is greater than the parts. Now, society as a system. Society is viewed as a system much like the solar system or the biological organism. Interconnected parts. Society consists of various parts, that is institutions, groups, roles, organizations that are interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent. They are interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent. Next is functional contribution. Each part of society performs a specific function, contributing to the overall stability and functioning of the system. Interdependence of parts. A change in one part of society leads to changes in other parts, as all components are closely connected. The whole is greater than the parts. Society as a whole cannot be reduced to its individual parts. It has its own identity, which Durkheim referred to as collective consciousness. Functionalism in society and anthropology. Functionalism dominated both anthropology and sociology until the later 1960s and early 1970s. Although functionalists often disagreed on specific issues, they are they all shared the belief that society is made up of parts that work together to maintain order and stability. This approach provided a framework for understanding how various social institutions and contribute to the overall functioning of society. They all shared the belief that society is made up of the differences between functionalists, such as the contrasting views of this approach, Radcliffe Brown and Malinowski, illustrate the diversity within the functionalist approach. However, they all agreed on the basic premise that societies are systems that rely on the contributions of their parts to maintain stability and order. Functionalism views society as a system of interconnected parts that work together to ensure its survival and stability. This approach has been highly influential in shaping the study of social institutions and their roles in maintaining societal cohesion. Now, functionalism in social anthropology, Radcliffe Malinowski, both Radcliffe Brown and Malinowski, key figures in the British functionalist approach to social anthropology, were highly critical of 19th century evolutionism. They rejected the speculative nature of earlier theories, emphasizing empirical study and moving away from what they called conjectural history. Radcliffe Brown criticized 19th century evolution as based on pseudo-historical research lacking scientific evidence. Malinowski referred to it as a limbo of conjectural reconstructions. Their work marked a significant shift in anthropology in several key areas. field were over, you see, armchair anthropology, a move from speculative analysis to field-based empirical studies. Now, freedom of evolutionism, synchronic studies over diachronic studies. They shifted the focus from the origin and evolution of societies to examining societies as they exist in the present. Micro approach over macro. Instead of studying entire societies and cultures, they focus on specific, often small scale societies. Practical use of anthropological knowledge. They aimed to apply their understanding of societies to improve people's lives. Malinowski termed this practical anthropology functionalism versus evolution and diffusion. Although Radcliffe Brown and Malinowski acknowledged the importance of diffusion and evolution as processes of change, they criticized the study of the past based on imaginative history. They favored empirical studies and avoided, theoretical speculation unless authentic historical documents were, available for analysis. Radcliffe Brown's structural functional approach. Radcliffe Brown, building on Durkheim's theories, developed a structural functional approach that emphasized the interrelation between different parts of society and their contribution to social stability. Now, key concepts are society as a system of relations. Radcliffe Brown defined society as a functionality interrelated system governed by general laws or functions. He acknowledged Durkheim's role in developing the concept of function, which draws an analogy between social life and organic life. Necessary conditions of existence. Radcliffe Brown avoided the potential technological implications of Durkheim's functionalism by substituting the term need with necessary conditions of existence. He argued that the conditions necessary for a society's survival vary across different social systems. Objection to functionalism level. Radcliffe Brown rejected the level functionalism because he felt that scientific study should be based on methods, not ideologies or schools of thought. He preferred the term structural functionalism as it focused on the structure and function of society simultaneously. Structural functionalism assumptions. Radcliffe Brown's approach is based on several key assumptions. Minimal integration. For a society to survive, it must achieve a minimal degree of integration between its parts. Function as maintenance. The function of various processes in society is to maintain necessary integration and social solidarity, structural features and social solidarity. The structure of a society contributes to the maintenance of social solidarity and ensures its continuity over time. Unlike an organism which dies, Radcliffe Brown argued that societies continue to survive, albeit through transformation. Society's structure can only be observed in its functional state, making structure and function inseparable in social anthropology. Functionalism of Talcott, Parsons, and Robert K. Merton. Talcott and Robert were key figures in the development of American functionalism, also known as structural functionalism. While both scholars emphasized the importance of social structure, they also focused on the process that occur within these functions. Parsons' Agile model. Parsons introduced the Agile model. Agile means adaptation, goal, attainment, integration, and latency. To explain the essential functions that all systems, including societies, must perform to survive. This model originated from his collaborative work with Robert. Adaptation, a societies must secure resources from their external environment and distribute them internally. The economic system typically performs this function, helping the society adapt to its surroundings. Goal attainment, G. Societies must mobilize resources and prioritize goals. In the social system, the political institution performs this function as it controls power and decision making. Integration, I. Societies need to coordinate relationships among their various parts. Legal systems and courts handle this task, ensuring the ongoing stability of society by managing internal relationships. Latency, L. Societies need to maintain and transmit their value systems. The family, religion, and education are central to this process, ensuring that values and norms are passed down through generations. Parsons emphasized that each of these functions is necessary for the survival of society.